All right, guys, welcome to our next lecture. So this one is going to be on stems. So stems are part of every plant and have very specific functions. What they're going to do is they're going to support the leaves and the plant, and they're going to allow water and food to move through the plant. Now remember, you guys are taking notes on all this, so you should be writing this down in your notebook on one side. So welcome to our next part of this. For this part, I want you to pause and draw that picture on the left-hand side so that you have something that you're looking at. And I have a real plant here that I can show you. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. I can show you the different parts. All right, so draw the picture, then keep going. All right, so the shoot is going to be from the top to the bottom of the plant. That's the shoot. It's going to include stems, leaves, flowers, and buds. All right, the stem is this main axis down the center of the plant. Let me get close to my camera. Ooh, there's sunlight above my head. I don't want you to see it. I am. All right, so this main area right here is the stem, okay? Next is the nodes. This is where the leaves attach. So if we get really close, right here would be the node. This area right here where the stem is coming off. Every spot that you have something coming off of is a node. Do you see that? So like this area right here, right there would be a node. Okay. The leaf axil is the area right above where the leaf attaches. And it's leaf axil because the axillary bud, which is, okay, like this one. So can you see that bud right there, right? It's coming out of where this leaf attaches. See that little bud? It's coming out of where that leaf attaches. That would have been an axillary bud. It's now a stem because the axillary buds are dormant apical meristems. So they're dormant areas where a stem or a leaf can grow out of. An apical meristem is going to be like the tip or the growing point of a plant. It's not really shown in this drawing. I guess maybe the terminal bud that they show would be it, but it's an area where your growth occurs. In a tomato plant, it's really easy to see. Once we get some of those growing, I'll show you. Bud scale is going to be a corky or waxy modified leaf that covers your axillary bud. So it's going to cover the bud that hasn't come out yet. You can really see it on like some pine trees. You can see them, like Christmas trees, you can see them on. A terminal bud is the bud at the end of each stem. Mine became flowers. The terminal buds here are the flowers. Okay, before they were open, they'd be buds. And then the leaf scar is the mark that's left when a leaf falls off. My plant doesn't have any. All right, so vascular systems are next. Your vascular system in a plant is sort of like our circulatory system. Okay, in the plant, the two types, like we have veins and arteries, they have xylem and phloem. Okay, so xylem goes up with water and minerals. Phloem goes up or down with nutrients. So you should draw that picture over there on the left-hand side, and you should label it like in two different colors, your xylem and phloem, so you can see the different ways it moves. All right, so xylem moves up with water and minerals. Phloem moves both ways with food and water. And when the vascular system of a plant is damaged, like this poor one that I just pulled out, it's going to die. So how the vascular systems move things, this is a little more detailed. There's a lot of stuff on this slide, so write it down as it comes out. So xylem of a plant is going to be the system of tubes and cells that circulates water and minerals. So it moves water and minerals. As a plant, you have roots to help you absorb water, but you need something else to move the water into the leaves. That's where the xylem comes in. Xylem is made of vessels, like blood vessels almost, that are connected end to end for maximum speed to move water around. They also have a secondary function where they help support the plant. So the xylem tissue is going to die after 1 year. So every year the xylem dies, and then new tissue develops around it. So think of a tree. When you cut the tree down, right, you see the rings. Those rings are xylem. Okay, and every year the xylem ring dies and a new ring is grown and a new ring is grown. Does that make sense? And it shows how long it's been alive. Now, phloem, on the other hand, is stuff that most green plants, that all plants have. Okay, so most plants have green leaves. It's where photosynthesis happens. When the sugars are made, they can't just hang out right in the leaf. We have to do something with them, right? So the phloem cells go end to end throughout the entire plant, and they move the sugar around the plant because that's the plant's nutrients. We eat, our digestive system moves our food around us, but plants don't have that, so they have phloem that's going to move all of their nutrients around them. Phloem is alive, all right? So think of like sap coming out of a tree, right? When you cut it, it drips. Like when you cut a tree, the xylem doesn't have water really dripping out. It's the phloem that has the nutrients dripping out. Next is nodes. So nodes, kids have a hard time understanding. This is a great picture of nodes, okay? Nodes are areas on a stem where the buds are located or where new growth occurs from, either a leaf, a bud, a new stem, sometimes a branch with fruit on it, all come from nodes. Nodes are where you have the development of leaves. I just said this, stems and flowers. When you prune, it's important to locate the nodes because you want to generally cut above a node because new growth will occur from the node. So if you cut a growing tree, if I cut this plant again, if I cut it right here, right, then the node that's below where I cut will start growing. There are areas between two nodes that are called an internode. So on that picture, it's in between the two nodes. That part of the stem is called the internode. The stalk that extends from the stem to the base of the leaf is called the petiole. So that's from the stem to the leaf. You have a petiole. It just goes to the leaf. It's not a whole nother stem. And then the auxiliary bud is usually found in the axil, which is the area between, we just talked about this, between the leaf and the stem, right? It gives rise to branches or flowers. In tomatoes, it gives rise to suckers. We'll talk about removing those later on in class. All right, the last thing we need to know is specific types of stems. So there are certain stems that are made for specific environments. Some examples of our modified stems are rhizomes, which are kind of chunky stems that are found underground that plants can actually come out of. Okay, and there are corms, which is almost like a bulb-like stem, but it looks a little bit more like a root. And then tubers, and tubers are, I think, potatoes, right? And they have like eyes on them and weird spots that new plants can grow out of. Then you have stolon, which are runners, kind of the same thing. They go from one plant to the next, and then they root, and then to the next. A spider plant has stolon, or a strawberry has stolon. And then you have bulbs, like an onion, right, which is a modified stem that has many layers that grows underground and it stores starches. Okay, so those are our modified stems. Make sure you have all your notes in your notebook. Do your drawings on the other side. And good job taking the time to watch this. See you later.